Now we have Dr. William Barry, who is an ethicist, PhD from West Point and from elsewhere, and I want him to tell you a little bit about what ethically comes up in this industry. So thank you very much, Dr. Barry.
Everyone loves a philosopher and an ethicist. Centuries ago, there was a Sufi tale about a watermelon hunter. And Sufi tales go back to the 10th century. And in this story, a man went into a land of fools. And in the land of fools, they were running away from a watermelon. And they were saying how they were starving, but they couldn't get to their food supply because of this monster. So the guy's like, well, geez, this seems pretty simple. I'll just go over there and cut up the watermelon and show people. So he goes over there, he slices it in half and holds it up in the air. And the people are horrified. They're like, oh my God, what is this guy doing? He goes, well, geez, all right. So he takes a big bite out of it. Now the people are like, this guy is much worse than the monster. So they run him out of town. And he can't understand why. He's like, I showed them the answer to the question. So years later, another person came into the land of fools. It was a woman. And she said, I think I'm gonna think about this a little deeper. I remember there's times in my life where I was afraid of things, but I didn't really understand it because I had been told stories and I had been told fables about things. So instead of running toward the watermelon, she ran with the people. And she sat with them and listened to their ethics and listened to them about why they were afraid of this watermelon. And she found out there had been stories for years, and there had been fables, and there had been scary stories, like we would look at like a Latino character like La Llorona to scare people. And what she did is shared her stories and her narratives. And finally the people started to trust in her. And she said, hey, if you trust in me, would you come out with me? Because I think I can show you something that could be really helpful. And slowly the people followed her. And they went out, touched the watermelon, moved away. And eventually they found out the watermelon was not only not a monster, but it was actually something to eat. They were going far away to no food, and now she was a hero. She had showed them that something they were afraid of was actually something that improved their quality of life. I use this story because it motivates me today talking about virtual beings. I won't be showing a lot of video. If you want to see video, you can look online. I'm officially the world's first philosopher teacher, an undergraduate in the world, that's taught a virtual companion. I've been teaching with a robot the last 3 years, Bina 48. And what we did was, years ago, she was coming on screen. We would slow a little snippet here and there. I created a class called Ethics of Emerging Technologies. And I was motivated by Asimov. He had written a story in American Airlines. There was a little pamphlet about the new teacher. And back then in the 70s, he said, imagine if we all had our own wavelength. We could have teaching machines, which we would learn by. And when we taught it back, it would go into like a huge library. And then we could erase educational poverty. And that became my goal, to erase educational poverty. And I've been working on that consistently as head of, I used to be a principal, and head of education, and now in philosophy. So this past year, Bina 48 actually got a certificate from the provost that she successfully completed the philosophy of love with a class of 41 with me. We also took on West Point in a debate on lethal and non-lethal weapons, and we beat them soundly. They never questioned the robot's agency. They would have killed us if they had done that, but they never thought to do it. So where did I work last year? I was a visiting professor at West Point last year. And what did we do with Bina 48? Instead of being a student, we took what she learned and she co-taught a class with myself and my friend Major Parsons about just war theory. Now the difference of what we've done is that the robot, which I'll show you soon, we broke through the fear barrier because we kept these two essential questions at the top. And these two essential questions are critical because one is they looked at what we call normative ethics in philosophy is in your head, what is your formula for right and wrong? You're a consequentialist? Are you someone that just follows the rules? Are you a virtuous person? Is it social contract? These are kind of just basic concepts. But what we wanted was, instead of creating a personality, find a personality of someone already and then build upon it. So Bina had put 100 hours of herself into it. She was born in Compton, eventually married to Martine Rothblatt, who is the richest CEO and transgendered in America. I put 400 hours of myself into an avatar. Very cheap avatar, didn't really work well, but the kids, when they had research, said, hey, talks like you, feels like you, and they learned about Plato's cave. So with really low technology, good teaching, we were able to actually overcome that uncanny valley, what he was talking about, because we were able to work together. So there's not this sense that teaching is going to be taken over by robots or by virtual companions, but augmenting it together. So imagine where we have fights or where we fight wars, places that people largely are illiterate. Look at Somalia, look at Afghanistan. You're talking 35, 36% literacy rates. All you need is a white curtain, a cell phone, and the ability to put your virtual being up there, and that virtual being now is your associate teacher and teaches with you. But to be able to do that, we have to do a couple things. Get rid of the idea that Maslow's hierarchy of needs is real. This is the most ridiculous concept ever. It's great that he got us started. This is based on 19 white people, 2 white women, Mother Teresa and Miss Roosevelt. So for all you women out there, that's what you're supposed to be. We should be Einsteins, right? Plus it's a hierarchy. Well, we want to go to something like this. Glasser loved power, fun, freedom, and survival. He came around and he said, it's not hierarchical. It's wherever you happen to be. Think about martyrs. Martyrs give up their lives for something. When I'm at West Point, those soldiers, those young people will give up their lives. So there's no such thing as a hierarchy of needs. It's where are we? So we need the virtual being to know where we are. So ethics and quality. When it comes to ethics, we need to know what is the ethic of the virtual being. Did you create a being whose ethic is to be something that follows the rules all the time? There's a book, about not lying. Never tell a lie. Well, then in applied ethics, all of a sudden you find out that she does lie. So now you say to the character, well, wait a minute. I thought you said never lie. Well, grandma was dying and I didn't want to say anything bad. So now you start having that emotional thing, because as humans, it happens all the time. I tell my wife I didn't eat the donut. Of course I ate the donut. So, obviously. So here we are. The big thing is have skin in the game. Have soul in the game. So if my virtual being friend or companion is sad and not doing well, then I'm gonna express sadness. Always be wary with a virtual friend or a real friend if what's good for you is good for them, but what's bad for you has no effect on them, right? And that's what we need to do when we look at our virtual beings. So I did this picture on purpose, because there's Beta 48. Can you see her there with the African garb? I took the picture on purpose because none of the kids were making believe that she was anything different. I thought everyone would gather around her and be like, wow. They didn't at all. And there's a certificate showing that she graduated. So how should beings act? Mind files. If we're willing to do the work, we can start off with already the values that we want, then we can build on it. Thank you very much.